Hello everyone, my name is Rafal and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Before we jump into today's video, I just want to mention that I'm going to start video series on my YouTube channel where I'm going to show you how to fix most common problems when it comes to retouching headshots. And in today's video, I just want to show you how to remove bags underneath the eyes. This is one of the most common problems when it comes to the headshot. And one of the solutions is having a good makeup artist who can kind of fix that. Sometimes it's doable, sometimes even heavy makeup can't fix the problem, and we have to jump into the Photoshop and we have to adjust this and address this and make this look a little bit better. So that's what we're going to do today, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. The next thing what I want to point it out and I want to mention here that I'm going to be using specific actions, which you can find in the description. You have to just click on the link and you can directly download those actions to your computer. You can upload them to your Photoshop and you can use them. The last thing before we jump in is basically the fact that I'm using Photoshop. I'm not using Lightroom or any other software. I'm specifically using Photoshop for all my retouching. So if you're using different software, that might be a little bit of issue because I'm going to show you how to do that in Photoshop. Okay, so now we know all the details and we can jump into actual image. So in this case, even that girl is very young and she's beautiful, but she still has this very obvious circles underneath her eyes which needs to be removed and addressed. And I'm going to use two techniques. First technique is dodge and burn. We're going to make this a little bit lighter, and then we're going to use another technique which is frequency separation, which going to kind of give the final touch to remove all this really nice looking circles underneath her eyes. So let's jump into it and let's work on the image. So the first thing, what are we going to do? We're going to run, dodge, and burn action. So you're going to have to go to your action panel, and the first action, we're going to click on it and we're going to run it. The next action, we're going to run it. We have to make those areas look a little bit more visible. So in this case, we're going to use noise. We're going to click on it. We're going to run it. And the last thing what we have to do in preparation to our technique, we're going to have to go to adjustments. We're going to click on it. We're going to go to curves. We're going to click it. And now we're going to very easy and precisely add either brightness or darkness to make those areas a little bit more visible. So now our image is prepared for the retouching process, and in this case we're going to be using brush. So we're going to click on the brush, and there's few details which we have to remember. The first thing, we have to make sure that the brush is very soft, so the hardness is 0, and then we're going to be working on the size a little bit later. So we're going to change back and forth to make the proper size for the brush. And the next step, we're going to make sure that opacity is 100%, and the flow, we're going to reduce the flow to about 3%. So now the next step, we're going to click R. So what it does, we can turn our image to the side. That's going to help us to be more precise and make this whole thing a little bit more easier for us. So we're going to turn it to the side. We're going to zoom in so we can really address those areas. Now, the next step, we're going to go to our dodge and burn folder. We're going to click on the dodge, and also we want to make sure that we are working on the white brush. So now it's on the black, so we have to click X, and now we're going to be slowly addressing the area which needs to be fixed. So the first thing what I want to also point it out, we cannot really make brush really big because we're going to be affecting too much of the area. So we need to reduce the size to only the area which needs to be fixed. So in this case, we're going to just make our brush smaller, and we're going to be gently addressing the area. So we want to make sure everything is working. So we're going to click on and off. So everything is working. We can already see their adjustment is done, but we're going to continue to make this more obvious. So now we're gonna start working on it. We can zoom in, zoom out, just so we can really address the area underneath her eyes. Perfect. So in order to see this a little bit better, we're gonna go back to our curve adjustment. I'm gonna make this image a little bit more darker. Perfect. We're gonna go back to our dodge layer. We're gonna just keep slowly and gradually addressing that area. So we don't want to push it too hard. And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, the process has to be gradual. We really don't want to this whole thing done in a seconds. We want to very slowly and precisely address the area. Perfect. Go a little bit around just to make sure covered every little detail. Perfect. Now we're gonna go to the other eye. I'm gonna click on our adjustment layer. Perfect. We're gonna go back to dodge layer, and now we're gonna very gently start brushing the dark area. Perfect. I like to switch and turn the image back and forth just so I can see a little bit better, and always seeing the image from different angles always helps to kind of have a different perspective on the image. Perfect. So let's work on it. So the process takes a little bit of time, but what happened is we're going to have precise control over how much is done. Perfect. And always I found that manual adjustments where we can have precise control over what we're doing is the best way to go. I know there's some different types of filters and actions, but I deeply believe when it comes to headshots and the way we want to address certain things, we need to have a full control over what we are doing. Perfect. Okay, so let's take a look what we have done. So let's zoom out. Let's take a look. Before and after, definitely better. So now the next step, what are we going to do? We're going to remove all those helping layers, which is curves, noise, and black and white. Let's take a look. That was before, that's after. It definitely looks better, but I don't think it looks as good as it should be. So the next thing, what are we going to do? We're going to go back to our action. We're going to click on frequency separation action. We're going to run it. Click OK. Perfect. And frequency separation created 3 different layers, and we're going to work on the middle layer, and we're going to still work with the brush, but this time we're going to change our flow to 1%. So the next step, we want to make sure that our dropper is set up to 31 by 31 average, and the reason is if we could have, for example, point sample, then the dropper would just take kind of wrong reading. So we want to make sure that this dropper takes average from the area which we want to cover. So I found 31 by 31 average or 51 by 51 average is ideal, but in this case we're going to do 31 by 31. Okay, and now what are we going to do? We're going to sample from the area which we want to make sure that the colors are matching the rest of the area which we want to cover. Perfect. We're going to make our brush a little bit bigger. Perfect. Turn it a little bit. Perfect. Let's take a look. Before and after, definitely you can see very subtle improvement. Perfect. It's good. Before and after. If we think we've gone too far, we can scale it down a little bit. I think we've gone a little bit too far. We still want to contain the texture of the skin, so I'm gonna do about 80%. Perfect. So that concludes the entire process. Let's combine all those two techniques together. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna merge everything here, and let's take a look. That was before, that's after. Before and after. Let's zoom in. We still contain the texture of the skin, which is extremely important in that case. Before and after, before and after. And definitely looks better. We removed all those heavy circles underneath her eyes, and the image looks absolutely stunning. And I think we just add a little bit of different flavor to the image. Perfect. So that concludes our video. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And yes, stay tuned for the next video. Bye-bye.